Hello and welcome, Rangers. I'm Joe here from East Stan.
Hello and greetings.
And today we have another Psycho Ranger to discuss, Psycho Pink. And she's technically the last, but we have two more Psycho Ranger videos we want to do. But we'll get to that in due time. Psycho Pink is the strongest of the Psycho Rangers.
But she's the biggest psycho of them all.
Yep, there, done. I'm kidding. Now, she's crazy because the problem is, even within the Power Ranger universe, you have the hot crazy scale, according to Barney Stinson. That is to say, the hotter the chick, the crazier she is. So it means that her human form must be as hot as, say, Kimberly or Aisha in her prime, which would make her probably one of the hottest chicks in the universe, but one of the craziest. I'm joking here. In all actuality, Psycho Pink is an enormously powerful ranger. And she is the only one to have actually succeeded in killing a Power Ranger that came at the cost of her own life. She also destroyed a Morpher temporarily. She was psychotic enough to actually do that when I don't know if the other Psycho Rangers would be psychotic enough to just destroy the Morpher as a screw you. If I can't have the power contained within, I'm just going to destroy it. She is honestly crazy enough to kill Ashley out of spite against Psycho Yellow. She's in some ways gullible at first in that she falls for Psycho Yellow's tricks and manipulations. But once she realizes what Psycho Yellow is doing, the problem is she goes mad with jealousy and spite. In a lot of ways, imitating Kimberly's negative traits in some episodes. So you can clearly tell she's basically a shadow Kimberly. Kimberly, if you'll recall in Mighty Morphin, was the most powerful ranger, period. At least until the White Ranger powers came in. She was also the most resourceful and the most brilliant. She was the greatest of the Rangers. Until Tommy came in as the White Ranger. I'd even rank her above Green Ranger Tommy. In a lot of ways, maybe only Billy could have somewhat measured up at that point, but I'd still rank Kimberly above him. Arguably, if you stacked Kimberly against almost the entirety of the original Mighty Morphin team, basically Jason, Trini, Zach, Billy, and Tommy at one point, she'd come out on top and still just be going, oh, wow, that was easy. The only one who might give her trouble would be Billy. But that aside, the nature of Psycho Pink is that she has more power in her left pinky than the rest of the Psycho Rangers put together. The problem is that where, let's say, Billy, for example, eventually caught up to Kimberly, and Tommy in time also caught up, and of course you had the Stony Canyon Trio who did catch up, very obviously, Psycho Pink remains unchallenged amongst the Psycho Rangers. She is a formidable fighting force. She honestly is a beast. No other Psycho Ranger can match up, but none are, as we keep saying, as crazy. She has little regard for Caron's authority. Not that any of the Psycho Rangers have too much regard for it, because the thing about Caron is that she's not a particularly powerful villainess. She's more underhanded and treacherous. Essentially, she is Starscream. But she is serving the stupidest villain in all of history, who, even when people are shouting at him, she's betraying you, refuses to believe it.
I mean, he even comments, the Psycho Rangers were the ones
draining your power, yes.
And then, who created the Psycho Rangers?
Yeah, he even admits, I am detecting my power being drained by someone on your ship. And you have her, oh, well, I don't know about anything about that. Oh, okay. It's fine then. She doesn't even try to lie. She basically just says, yeah, so, and what are you going to do about it? And her boss, well, nothing, I guess. It's just such a weird part of the story But that's Dark Spectre. He is very powerful, arguably, but very, very, very dumb. Arguably, Lord Zed is far stronger and far smarter. But this is one of the only problems in the Power Rangers in Space story is that you don't really have any real villains who are worthy of the name, except maybe Divatox, but she doesn't really pop up. She's written out for a while. So that you only have Corone and Dark Spectre, neither of whom are particularly formidable villains. And I only say that because, well, they aren't. In turn, the Psycho Rangers are formidable villains. I think what also drove Psycho Pink, as well as the other Psycho Rangers, nuts is, as we have talked about in previous Psycho Ranger episodes, it's that Corone kept deploying them, then pulling them out just as they were about to finish off the Rangers. And she, in part, did this for a very clever reason. And this is where Corone actually gets a lot of credit as a villainess. She was actually trying to destroy Dark Spectre before the Power Rangers. The idea was to drain enough power from the Rangers to strengthen the Psycho Rangers a bit more, but to drive the Psycho Rangers even more frantic. As the more psychotic they got, the stronger they got. So the idea is, though, that they're drawing power from Dark Spectre. So the more psychotic and crazy they go, the more they're going to be draining Dark Spectre's energy. And then from there, they're then going to drain the Power Rangers' energy. So essentially, it's two birds with one stone. And this is where I will actually compliment Corone as a villainess. She knows what she's doing there. Of course, Eclipser, duh, duh, duh. What are you doing, boss? And she has to explain it to him in very, very slow, monosyllabic language, because you're looking at the weakest and the dumbest villain in Power Ranger history. And I really don't like Eclipser. He's honestly such a joke. I honestly take the pig from the movie more seriously than this schmuck. Honestly, half of Corone's plots are hampered by this moron. And you almost feel pity for her because, she's got to put up with Eclipser. I would actually argue Deviot is better and is a far more reliable second in command because, sure, he's going to backstab you every which way till Sunday, but Eclipser just can't fight with squat and is just, he can't keep up mentally with the slightest of schemes. So Astronema is hampered by a really, really bad number 2 guy. She is a flawed villainess and not the best in Power Ranger history, but she can come up with some decent plots, such as the Psycho Ranger scheme. It's just Psycho Yellow, for example, is cleverer. Psycho Pink is way stronger, and Psycho Pink is just such a powerhouse. And then you got in Lost Galaxies, of course, Psycho Pink makes her glorious return, and I use glorious very loosely. She at first appears alongside the other Psycho Rangers just attacking the Rangers, and Kendrix is, let's be honest, a very, very book-smart Ranger, but honestly not the most powerful Lost Galaxy Ranger. The thing about the Lost Galaxy Ranger is that they really only had 3 really, really strong Rangers. Well, one is a sort of Ranger. You've got the Corbett brothers. Mike is kind of a Ranger, but kind of not, with Magnum Defender abilities. And you have Kai. Damien and Maya. Anyways, you then have Kendrix. So Kendrix is essentially ranked 4th in this lineup. And you have, for in space, a far more balanced team, arguably. Much as I do get a little on Ashley's case, she is pretty powerful from long distance. So, in regards to TJ, he's one of the greatest Power Rangers who ever lived. Then you've got Andros, who's pretty good. You have Cassie, who's one of the greatest Power Rangers to ever live. And you have Carlos, who's just a powerhouse physically, though mentally
He's not very bright.
Yeah, he's really dumb. But you don't call Carlos in for his brains. You call him in for his muscles. I mean, the dude got outsmarted by what, a 9 or 11-year-old girl? He is honestly dumber than Bulk and Skull. He is. But in terms of raw muscles, he's up there with Adam. So in D&D terms, you put all of his stats into strength and con, and nothing into intelligence or wisdom. So he's basically stuck at an int and a wisdom of like 9. Because why not? But when you're that strong, you don't always need brains. Though it wouldn't hurt to have a little more brains because, I mean, you were enslaved by a little girl.
He's lucky all she wanted was a friend.
Yeah, and a playmate. Whereas with Psycho Pink, she's up against Kendricks. Not a fair fight. Kendricks is not a very good fighter.
She's book smart.
Yeah, but in terms of... Okay, let's be honest. The Pink Rangers have an incroyable history. You look at Kimberly, arguably the greatest Pink Ranger who ever lived. You've got Kat, who's a little above average as far as Rangers go, but she's still pretty good. Cassie, who ranks probably as the second greatest Pink Ranger of all times. You've got Kendricks, of course, who's a little below average.
She'd probably be a good Blue Ranger.
Yeah, I guess. You then have Donna, who's one of the greatest Rangers of all times. You've got... Like, our point is just that Pink Rangers have a long and distinguished history. They are amongst the greatest Rangers. And typically, funny enough, more combat-oriented than some of the other colors. In some ways, more than even Blue Rangers. Pink Rangers tend to serve as number 2 in command of some teams. Because if you look at in space, TJ is the leader. The real number 2 is Cassie. And this was the case when the second lineup of Turbo Rangers came in, and then you had in space. Then you have Lost Galaxies, where at times Kendricks serves as number 2 to Kai at the beginning, and then Leo steps into leadership, him and Mike. And to an extent, even Kai gets kind of relegated to number 2 to the Corbett brothers. Kendricks, though, I would argue, as you mentioned, lacks the physical qualities of, say, Carlos, but makes up for it with a lot of cerebral qualities. In some ways, Kai is more the Pink Ranger and she's more the Blue Ranger, as you mentioned. But in turn, she is very feminine, and that is the major quality of the Pink Rangers. Yellow Rangers are maternal. Pink Rangers are just the divine feminine personified. Just as Black Rangers are the masculine personified. In this case, she can come up with all the plans in the world, but it's worth nothing because Psycho Pink, with all of her overwhelming muscle. To an extent, she's kind of akin to Shinobu Sensui from Yu Yu Hakusho or Broly from Dragon Ball Z. She's so strong, what does she need strategy for? And then you've got Cassie, who has a lot of muscle, very resourceful, and you've got those two barely able to keep up with Psycho Pink. Them being able to defeat her, the way it's portrayed, arguably it's by the skin of their teeth. And, okay, sure. And even then, it's not permanent. They don't really defeat her. She basically self-destructs to destroy the space morpher, I believe. And takes down Kendricks with her. Honestly, Psycho Pink has the most accomplishments of the Psycho Rangers. The only thing is, the weird thing is, had Cassie taken up the mantle of the second Lost Galaxy Ranger, it, to an extent, might have served to the benefit of the Lost Galaxy Rangers to an extent, because Cassie is far more brilliant in some ways a Ranger than Kendricks. Cassie's the second greatest of the Pink Rangers. But let's say we were to stack Psycho Pink against Kim. Kim in her prime. Let's say when she's a Ninjetti Pink Ranger.
That'd be a far more even fight than against the two girls.
But I would argue that Psycho Pink is so powerful, she'd fight Kim to a standstill. And that's how powerful Psycho Pink is. That's why the two girls can't really score a victory against her.
And the two girls with their skill sets should be a really good team.
But do you honestly think they could take on Kim in her prime?
No.
That's my point. Like, Psycho Pink could probably almost beat Kim. If Kim were to beat her on her own, it'd be by the skin of her teeth. And the reason I rank Kim so high is that she's the only Ranger who ranks up there with Tommy. So maybe she could beat Psycho Pink. But I'm of the opinion Psycho Pink could give Tommy a run for his money. And when I say Tommy a run for his money, I'm referring to him in his prime with the Master Morpher. Even he'd be hard-pressed and sweating buckets against Psycho Pink. That's how powerful Psycho Pink is. So maybe Kim could beat her, but it'd be by the skin of her teeth. But I tend to rank the movie team as all being pretty even with each other. Tommy may be slightly above some of the others, same with Kim. I think they could all take down Psycho Pink solo, but it's by the skin of their teeth. Psycho Pink is just a juggernaut. And Psycho Yellow gets by with just the most brains. She's honestly my favorite because she's clever and sneaky like Rat Trap from Beast Wars. And arguably, Ashley cannot beat her, neither can Maya due to cunning. I would argue there's only really two Yellow Rangers who might be able to beat Psycho Yellow for her part. Aisha and Kira. The rest, no, Psycho Yellow will always win. Psycho Pink is a very similar villain in that regard, except it's by virtue of muscle. Donna, no, Psycho Pink would gobble her up for breakfast. Only Cassie might almost stand a chance, but even then, she's not powerful enough. Arguably, no. Of the Lost Galaxy lineup, if you were to give the green sword to Mike, I'd say Mike could probably beat her. Because I value the Quasar swords way above the Magnum Defender abilities. Leo could beat Psycho Pink, I think. But by the skin of his teeth, he'd almost be dead. Psycho Pink I rank as stronger than Drakina in normal form, but Drakina when she goes, I don't know, Super Saiyan, Drakina is arguably stronger. But Psycho Pink, the only reason I value her higher than normal Drakina is just, she just has more accomplishments. And I'm going to be honest, she's just crazy. That insanity gives her a little bit of an edge over Drakina. And that said, I don't think Psycho Pink would even stand a chance against, say, a villain like Lord Zed. She might be able to rank pretty good against Rita. I still think Rita might score a victory. But Zed would easily just blast her and then there'd be nothing left. Then again, arguably of the villains, the only one who can beat Zed is Ivan Ooze. So tell us what you think of this video and of Psycho Pink. And don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button as though you were Aisha taking down Ivan Ooze for the final time. And remember, Rangers, may the power protect you.